A couple of weeks ago, I started putting up stories that have happened to me in my life that were hard to explain. I call them miracles. Some of them are. Some of them just defy normal re- reality. My first experience that I recall happened to me when I was in about the third grade, maybe fourth, I'm not sure. My parents were rifle shooters. My dad was in the Navy and we were stationed at Alameda Naval Air Station, which I understand is no longer there. He and Mom both were rifle shooters. They fired competitively, and it was like a religion with them. They went to rifle matches every weekend. I hated it because we were always going somewhere, and my parents knew that I didn't like to go, so they started leaving me behind. One morning they were getting ready to go to a rifle match, and my mom came in and said, "Buck, there's where we're going." This was in Richmond, California. Where we're going, there's a lake right beside the rifle range, and if you wanted, you could take your fishing pole and go fishing. Well, I love to fish. I was an avid fisherman. I have been. I don't fish anymore. I haven't fished in at least 5 years, but I used to love to fish, especially fly fishing. At 8 years old or 10, whatever it was that I wasn't into fly fishing, but I loved to fish. So I thought, well, that'd be all right. And I got my little fishing box together and my little fishing pole, and away we went to Richmond. When we got there to the rifle range, my mom said, over there's a cliff, but there's a path that angles down, and there's a lake down there, and that's where you can fish. So I grabbed my little box and my fishing pole, and I headed for the lake. Got to the cliff, and when I arrived at the cliff, I found the path. The cliff was kind of steep, actually, but the path was a foot or two wide, and it angled down this cliff. So I started down the cliff, and I could see off to my right, I could see the lake out there. Pretty good sized lake, or at least as I remember. Maybe 8-10 feet out in the water, there was a raft. There was some people standing on it, and they were fishing. A floating pier. There was a mound of dirt. I could see all this. There was a mound of dirt, maybe a foot high. And on that mound of dirt, I didn't know it at the time, but there was a 2x12. I know it now, life's experience. I didn't know what a 2x12 was back then. But anyway, there was a 2x12 with one end on the mound of dirt, and the other end went out to this float that was out there. Right in front of this mound of dirt, which stood maybe 1-2 feet high, there was a big mud puddle. It had rained the night before, and the ground was muddy and little puddles sitting right there. I took all this in as I'm going down the cliff, and as soon as I got down to the level area, I started running towards the float. As I got to the mud puddle, I went to jump it. Okay, my foot hit on the edge of the puddle. My feet shot out from under me, and I'm flying through the air, looking up, fishing box in one hand, fishing rod in the other, and I'm just laying there, and I got this strange cold feeling all over me. Now, it's strange because this all happened in an instant, but it seems like time stopped and I'm just floating there for a little bit. And I remembered last night I had dreamt this. Everything. The going down the cliff, the running out to the puddle, the stepping on it, the hitting the mud, the feet going out from under. And I ended up landing in the mud puddle on my back, and I slid a little in the mud, and I'm laying there trying to, nothing like this had ever happened to me before, and it scared me. How can this happen? Well, I finally got up out of the mud puddle, walked out across the 2x12, which was kind of springy, and fished. People they were all adults on the pier, they kind of laughed. I was I was all wet more than muddy. And I fished all afternoon, caught one crappie, took it home. I don't remember whether we ate it or not. That night, I was laying in my bed, and Mom came in. She used to come in every night and tuck me in. And I told her about what happened. And she told me, she said, Bucky, there are stranger things in real life than are ever written about in stories of fiction. Now, I can't explain what happened. I know that it happened. I don't know how we have these precognitive dreams. I've had quite a few over the years, but nothing like that. Usually there's, when something happens, I have this feeling, I've done this before, and I remember it. But that's it. Like I said in my last story, the human mind is capable of far greater things than most of us realize. I hope you enjoyed this story. There's more coming. See you later. Bye-bye.